watching all the world go by now, underneath the hazy sky now. Got my ticket for the long ride. Yeah, from my park bench perspective, got that wide-eyed view on life. My park bench perspective, helping me to win the fight.
Hey, Mike Hammer, how you doing this week?
Carlos Figueroa, I'm top-notch, A-OK, doing pretty good, above average at best, and all those other puns. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Excited to be here back on the bench with you.
What a lovely bench it is.
We got something special this week.
I like special.
Not the short bus special, but we have a special guest on this podcast.
A special friend.
Yeah, all right. We have our old friend from St. Louis Park, and we played youth sports together, Joe Reilly. How you doing, Joe?
I'm very good, thank you. This is much more exciting than Carlos and my White Shadow Forgotten Television podcast. I usually go with a shirt, but Mike Hammer, he's got a whole different thing. These are really exciting. But no, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
I was going to say, for an audio podcast, being topless is an interesting way to go about it. But Hammer says he'll do anything for ratings.
And it's summertime. Summer in the city. Yeah. And Joe, he didn't mean old friend like you're old. Yeah. We've been friends for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I always get the 70s. The quote, Beatles quote wrong, but what is it? We have memories that extend farther back than the road ahead. We'll just put it that way.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
That's nice.
So, Joe, you were born and raised in St. Louis Park. Is that correct?
Correct. So our first house I grew up on Texas Avenue, right down the street from Park Knoll, where I went to grade school, which is now part of the Knollwood, whatever you want to call it these days. It was Plaza, then it became a mall, and now it's back to just Knoll.
When they tore down Park Knoll, I think it became a Montgomery Ward.
It did indeed.
And through Knollwood's transition, it then became a Cub.
Correct. And Park Knoll used to sit on a hill where all of that as you look down into. Yeah. So it was quite the change. And then in 73, we moved 2 blocks further north and then 1 street over to the right. And then we were on Sumter Avenue, and that was only 2 blocks away, but we moved school districts. So I went to Aquilla School.
So did you start in 3rd grade then at Aquilla? Or
correct.
Did they tore down Park Knoll by then? Or no?
No, Park Knoll was still around when I moved out of Park Knoll into the Aquilla School. And so then, but that was only 2.5 blocks away. So for example, the woman at the end of our block, Liz, I forget her last name, but not that I would say it on the air. Yeah. She was just across the next block, and she went to Park Knoll. So it was quite interesting.
So that's a traumatic change for a kid, right? All your friends and everything else. And so, did you know anybody at Aquilla, or was it a new experience? Was it a new kid in school kind of thing?
That's a good question, because it goes way back to don't have any of the memories. I have a little bit memories of the Park Knoll, have pictures and things, but I don't remember being a particular difficult transition, because I did make friends, and Hammer knows these guys too as well, but at that particular time, Mike Smits would have been not too far from me down the street. And then a few years later, and I don't know what grade, it might have been 4th grade, Brian Madge moved in. And then for my grade school years and early junior high years, it was myself, Madge, and Mike Smits who used to hang out a lot in our neighborhood. So that was my transition.
And Joe, I don't know if it's a nickname you've tried to lose. Back then, I was to my friend's Cos, not Carlos.
Yep.
And you were to your friend's Mo.
Correct. I was. Yep. So it comes
like
back.
Joe Reilly. He was like Carlos. He was like you. He was bigger than most at an early age.
Yeah.
You guys were like giants.
And you've got a story for us, Joe, but I do want to share my story since it's already been aired, I think, on our 1st or 2nd episode. When I first met you, Joe, was in junior high. You did go to Westwood Junior High.
Correct.
And everybody said, you can't eat pizza. Joe, like Mo can eat more pizza. So Joe and Carlos, the 2 biggest guys, we first met eating pizza at Beek's Pizza.
Yeah, and we ate at Beek's Pizza, and then that was one place where I would go. It was, and we're going to sound like we're old people, but I guess we are. It used to be 99 cents in a small drink, all you could eat.
Yep. Then
it became $1.99. Yep. Then they got rid of the small drink, but that was the place to go, because as you say, Ham, Carlos and I were not small children in terms of our height. And we're not exactly thin and lithe like you are, Mr. Hammer.
Yeah,
Uh,
funny. You guys, I ate a lot. I don't know. It never stuck with me.
well, you know what? Enjoy your metabolism.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks for rubbing in, Hammer.
Joe, you have a story that involves Mr. Hammer?
And both of you. I'll give you my memories
Okay.
of both of you, of kind of my biggest memories. So I never, sixth grade, I went to Aquilla. Then we all went to Westwood Junior High back in the seventh grade. And my first party that I ever went to was at somebody's house. And I can't remember who it was. But you were there, Carlos. I can't remember if Hammer was there, but Hammer, I'll get to your part here in a little bit. But on the music on the turntable was the Ramones, which was a very Carlos band.
Yep.
And the second particular thing was that Carlos was dancing with a young lady, and it was his girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
And I had no concept of having a girlfriend at that particular time. So Carlos was quite the man have a girlfriend at this particular time. And I remember she did not live too far from me, but again, she was just one street over. But her name was Shelly R, and she had the distinct. She went out with Carlos, but as I recall,
it was like 5 days, so it was a seventh grade relationship.
There we go. But Mr. Hammer and I would play Mickey Mantleball when we were 16, and I remember at that particular moment in time, who was the man Michael Hammer was dating was one Shelly R.
No way.
Yes, so you two gentlemen dated the same woman 4 or 5 years apart.
Okay. I mean,
hold
on. Let's go back. So this is seventh grade. We skated once at roller gardens. Want to go out. We break up 5 days later. So let's not make more of this 13-year-old romance than we have. I think when Hammer dated, there was legitimate dating.
I was nice. I waited till he got over it.
Yeah. It was quite a while, but yeah.
But no, that's kind of my big memory, because I knew Shelly. She didn't live too far from me. And then I remember Hammer she was at one of our games, I think, is how I remember talking to her. But but Carlos, why I remember it was because you were the first guy that really had a girlfriend. And at that particular moment in time, could have been 5 days for you. It's a lifetime memory for me.
Yeah, he also shaved before all of us.
Yes, I did. I remember after seventh grade, I think, at the end of seventh grade, I shaved my mustache. And I remember going to tournaments with my mom in the stand saying, "He is my son and he is 12.
But yeah. So those were...
I know we had a lot of memories early on of Mikey Gavron.
Yes. Our basketball coach.
Traveling basketball. And he was a crotch itcher and he was a joke teller and he had those funny euphemisms or whatever to us.
They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you.
They're just bigger.
They got the windows open at Hospitality House. You guys stunk up the gym so bad last time you were there.
Those are the days.
He just recently passed.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
He was a great guy. He didn't have a horse in the race, so to speak. He didn't have a kid.
He did not. He had
he was great.
My dad did a lot of remodeling, and I did too. And so he did plumbing work for us. So I got to spend some time away from basketball, and he was funny. I was one of those people who did not pursue sports in high school, and we'll talk about our high school experiences, Joe, because you went to the other school in St. Louis Park. You went to Benilde, right? So from junior high, so we were together basically just those 2 years, 7th and 8th grade at Westwood.
Correct.
And then obviously all the sports and stuff. And then you are class of 84 for Benilde as well?
Correct. We are all in the same graduating year.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but when you kind of mentioned all of us, because this is Babe Ruth and the baseball, and you mentioned you were going, I remember there was like, no, you're not. There was some animosity. It wasn't, it was like fleeting first. I was like, no, you're not. What do you mean? That doesn't happen. And then you're like, all right, there's nothing we can do about it.
Hey,
so go ahead, Carlos.
I do real quick want to share a memory, and I have no idea if you remember this or not, but I have a distinct memory of 8th grade geography class with Mr. Bob. And Joe and I sat next to each other. And so he would we would discuss a different part of the world. And I remember when we did Afghanistan, one of the things we read is one of the games the kids play is they grab onto each other's earlobes and yank until someone quits. So Joe and I thought, that's a great idea. We should do that. for about 5 seconds, and it hurt too much, and we stopped. But I don't know if you have every memory of that, Joe, but I've tugged on your earlobes before.
I have two memories of that. That I remember, and then I also remember that Daryl Dawkins was big at that time.
Yes.
Being in the back of that class, watching him break the backboard on the Sports Illustrated. And then that Mr. Baum had a Lennon pin because he went and saw the Gray when it was still around, where they had him under glass.
Yeah.
I remember one of his comments, if you would go up to his desk and stand behind him, a few times I heard it utter, "Don't stand behind me," flashbacks, because he was a Vietnam vet. Don't stand behind me, flashbacks.
So I just wanted to get that one out. I didn't. So sorry, Joe. You were talking about going. Everybody couldn't believe you were going. Was that something that was not a choice you made, or were you just told where you were going to go? Give us a little bit of the Reilly home drama related to that decision.
Yeah, so that was not my decision. Yeah. So I fought it tooth and nail. Yeah. My older brother, who was a graduate of 9, he went to St. Louis Park, but apparently in his youth, he had done some sort of religious sort of stuff that my brother Mike, who's a class of 81, and I did not do. Yeah. So we were told that we were both going to be going to Benilde
to help with your spirituality, so you can be like older brother. Okay.
Yeah, and this was mostly coming from my mother at this particular point in time. Yeah. And so I didn't really have a choice, and I didn't really want to go. And as Hammer kind of, when he brought that up about Babe Ruth, it was maybe the All-Star games that we were in. And you were there, Carlos. That was the year that we went to Edina, and your dad was the coach who took over from Brian Hartman.
Yes. And which, by the way, did not sit well with Mr. Hartman.
I remember. Yeah. But it was that. So that's why I ended up at Benilde. But, and I can expound on this later because I want to kind of dive into that Babe Ruth thing. But I'll tell you what my experiences with Benilde, what I thought was very positive about it too. But but that Babe Ruth that we talked about, that All-Star game, was the pinnacle of my baseball career.
Yeah,
in terms of that, I played mantle ball with him when we were 16, but we went to the finals. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember how we lost?
I don't.
Braemar. Wasn't it Braemar?
Yeah, it was at Braemar. You know how we lost? Yeah. I'll never forget it. I was on first base. Yeah. We had to win 2 against Edina, hated Edina, and because we were coming out of the losers bracket. And I tried to go first to third, and I'm not the most fleet of foot. Yeah. And then I made the third out, and your dad goes, "What were you doing? You're already at second base. You were already in scoring position.
Don't make the first or third out at third base."
Yeah, but I just remember that was Carlos. You were there. You played first base, and I had to that was my position, but I got shoved out to right field so Parrington could help me, so he could run center and right field. Chris Parrington is the guy who's a year younger than us, just to be clear, and
one of the best athletes that we played with.
And Craig Breitkreitz was on that team.
Yeah.
And me and Hammer had the opportunity to hit home runs during that kind of series.
I saw that. I remember the game where there were a bunch of home runs, and I think it was you, Hammer, where my dad crossed the line of sportsmanship and had you slide.
Yes.
Into home
I was just going to say that. I was going to say I was the one who did not slide.
Yeah. If I had gone back, that is actually, there are very few moments where that's where I'm like, "Oh yeah, Dad, that wasn't cool."
Do you know what your dad did to me on my home run, Carlos?
No.
He thought I missed second base. So he goes, "Stop, turn around, touch second base, and come back around." So that was sort of the most fun I had on the baseball field. And we were all playing the Haiti Edina.
I don't know if you guys remember this, and I have no idea why. I have no idea who the announcer was at Braemar, but he would do, "And now batting, Carlos!" And he would announce it like that, and I'm like going, "Dude, I'm like 15. Less attention. Less attention. I don't want to be the center of attention. Please stop doing that. And I'm not Kirby Puckett. No,
I am not Ed Figueroa's nephew. Yes. I don't need the fanfare."
I actually did used to claim Ed Figueroa, a former Yankees pitcher, as an uncle when he was pitching. And then for a very long time, he held the highest ERA in the history of the World Series. And I said, of course, I'm not related to that loser.
I do remember, Carlos, you mentioned it, Brian Hartman getting really upset for whatever reason. And
he was technically the coach. So here's the thing is that he was actually a paid coach. I think he was getting paid by Al to coach
Oh,
the
Al,
team
gotcha.
because
Right,
we were
yeah.
doing
Al
daytime
Began.
practices every day.
He got that.
Yep.
Turn on the electric or turn on the automatic
Yeah.
sprinklers type job.
And so my dad, so actually, I think in that championship game, my dad, like, I feel like Hartman went to Al and said, no, I'm the coach. And then he took over in that season. I could have sworn that happened in that last game, that he coached it and not my dad. But anyways, I get it. And Hartman is an interesting cat, man. I don't know if you know his backstory. He was a bit older than us.
Yep.
He was probably considered one of the best hockey players for his age in the state of Minnesota. And then he had an accident that messed up his equilibrium and he couldn't play again. But he was considered elite. I know nothing about hockey, and he was having to deal with the fact, and then he died real young, and I don't know what that was about. But if I was a young man who thought I was going to be a superstar, and legitimately, not just in my driveway, but legit, was a huge prospect, and all of a sudden it went away, that would be tough to deal with. And Brian was right. My dad was not supposed to be the manager, but he just kind of took over, and I think my dad was maybe a better manager, but I'm trying to be open to the feelings of the other folks.
Well,
but
I think because he coached our team before the All-Star team.
Yeah.
And I think that's because at the time your dad was real busy.
Yeah.
And your dad would show up, but Brian was there because we could have practices during the summer, during the morning. Yeah, and we would have fun. And I think when we got to the All-Star game, some other dads were rumbling that he's not serious enough, too pally with the players.
Yeah.
And I think part of what your dad did was to buffer it a bit for Brian, was to say, I'll take the heat from the parents and I'll step in here.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not going to name some of the names of the parents that were more intense.
Yeah.
Some of the other dads that coached Little League or Babe Ruth, but didn't coach the All-Star team.
Now, Mike, I know you coached your kids. Did you ever coach, Joe?
Did I ever coach? Yeah, mostly it was basketball.
Yeah.
I did coach Little League. Here's my favorite story of baseball. My oldest son, that none of them are really sports orientated. He was playing shortstop, and with my heart in my throat every time the ball would get hit, some guy just rocketed one at him, and he stuck his glove out and he caught it and he said, all right, I can retire right now, because he had a positive experience of snagging that ball at shortstop. And that was, and I did basketball, and actually just talked about that with my son last night. He said, hey, they're shooting hoops at this grad party, right? I said, you should go there. And he goes, oh, I'm not that good. I said, hey, I coached you. And he goes, yeah, but I didn't like it. But no, so I did coach. But
that was one thing. Props to my dad. I never did anything I didn't want to do. I just
real quick segue, and we'll get back at it. Hell of a game last night. I'm on the Knicks bandwagon. Hell of a lot. The first two games have been great games.
Yeah.
Walt Frazier.
I'm happy for Karl. He's
didn't need him.
Oh, did you? Okay.
No. We didn't need him, is what he said.
Didn't need him.
I didn't need him. I got
Which actually is kind of going. This would be the second time that the Wolves could not build a championship around a player that other teams could.
He's going to Sam Darnold us too.
I was thinking more of KG.
I know, but the term's been out lately. Are we going to get Darnold? Are we going to get Darnold again?
Yeah. And then,
but you know what? I don't know. I think building a team around, I don't know. Listen, I'm going to shut up because I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know anything about basketball, but it felt like if it was, we need to build a team around Ant or Cat. I don't know. Ant strikes me as the right one to bet on.
Superman meets Karl-Anthony Towns has no problem being Robin to Brunson. He had no problem being the second. He had no problem being the Pippen to Ant. Bring up the money thing. I will say I'm not going to defend Glenn Taylor that much, but he had no problem going into that second apron.
He didn't. He proved it. It was not for lack of resources. But that's the interesting thing about, I've been writing a lot about baseball, is that in football and basketball, it's an even playing field, right? And so you don't have that built-in excuse that our revenue does not, you know what I mean? It's the choices that you've made as a team that determine stuff.
Well, but football wholeheartedly, because there is a hard cap. But basketball, they can go above it and pay a penalty to a certain degree.
Yeah. But still, it's a possibility. You know what I mean? You can, and in the NBA, if you're lucky enough to get one of those first or second draft picks, you can draft a championship.
I just heard a weird stat. I think my son Ben told me. Next year, 15 or 25 players will be making $50 million or more next season.
That wouldn't surprise me, because that's where the NFL is with cap money, right? Elite quarterbacks are getting 50, 60 million a year. That's just
It's amazing.
It's crazy. And kind of post Kirk Cousins, a lot of that money now is getting guaranteed.
Yeah. To bring it back, I'll wrap up the Babe Ruth thing. The point where you said Brian Hartman was a little loosey and friends with the players. I remember this distinctly because we had a lot of free time sometimes in the dugout.
Yep.
I remember talking to one of the players. I can't remember who it was, but he was expounding the virtues of some relative of his who received government grade marijuana because he had guacamole. He had glaucoma. He had glaucoma. So we had a lot of time on our hands back then at those practices. So your dad instituted a little bit of discipline is one. And what I always thought too was expectation. When you're out there playing, perform.
Well, that's the thing too, right? It's like when a coach, maybe it's just me, but it's like you don't want to disappoint your coach, particularly when he's your dad, but you don't want to disappoint your coach, right? You don't want to embarrass him. You want to have some pride, or your teammates. I've had the debate with people whether sports builds character or reveals character, but I think there is something about working with a group towards as a joint effort that is healthy for people to experience. It doesn't have to be in sports. But it's a good example. It's a good example of hard work paying off, because most amateur sports at that age, it's not really about skill. You've got some people that are skilled, but it's about organization and effort and discipline and preparation,
and building confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your dad always had a great way of getting his point across, whether a stern point like Hammer. When he'd come out to the mound many times with me. Why don't you throw the ball over the plate? It's not that hard. Just grab the ball, throw it over the plate. That's all I ask. Okay? And I'm like, and I knew most of it was just coming out, give me a break, a reset. He'd pat me on the back and, okay, I got you, but just throw the ball over the plate.
Yeah, I remember a dad pep talk, and I'm just going to share it now because it's in my mind. I don't know that it fits, but I remember playing minor leagues in Little League. So it would have been, my dad coached 1 year of Cub baseball. So we lost the championship game. And then in Little League, in the minors, and it was the first game, and I think we were tied, and I was up, and my dad's third base calls me over, and he goes, do you know Lee Trevino? When he's at the final hole, when it's for the championship, right when the other guys are putting, he lets out a big fart. And so he goes, so remember Lee Trevino. He's trying to calm me down because he knows I get in my head too much, but I will. And so then for the rest of my career, beyond being a kid, my dad, if he saw me worked up, he'd go, remember Lee Trevino.
There we go. The other thing, about you talk about the character reveals it or builds it. Camaraderie was one of those things, because obviously we're still friends, but we don't see each other very often on a regular basis. And even to this day, I've probably seen Chris Parrington, who played center field. I played right field in that tournament. And we haven't seen 42 years was when we had that. Yeah. And maybe I've run into him once in those 42 years, but we have immediately have a connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we spent those times chasing down Hammer's moonshots that he gave up. No, I'm teasing you.
And I've had places where I've worked too, or even the law school experience, you build friendships. And once again, I am not making this as a direct analogy, okay? Playing sports or working is not the same as war. At the same time, you get the foxhole basic training bonding that happens when you go through stuff together. It's just natural. And like you said, you got something in common right there.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And those memories stand, right? We remember the stuff. Sometimes people remember stuff I don't remember, like Carlos groove into the Ramones. I don't think that happened, but okay.
Well, Carlos, I was at a brewery in Indiana.
Okay.
I was out on a sales call with something, and I had a beer, and they put on the Ramones album, the first album, and the first thing I thought of was, it wasn't like I'd seen you in the last 5 years for that or whatever it was, but it was interesting.
It's funny. We've discussed on my music episodes. It was my cousin Susie when I was like 12 or 13 that got me into the Ramones, and that was a couple years before. Then Rock and Roll High School comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh, Ramones!" And I'm like, "Okay, Carlos, wasn't that wacky?"
Joe, you talk about camaraderie. A couple years ago, we had a weird encounter. Not weird was a chance encounter that was just
random.
I don't know. Go ahead. I don't know how you did the recognizing, but I have a feeling that I knew right away who it was. I don't know why, but
yeah. So I was flying to Denver and I was going to see the Wolves play Denver. This was 2 years ago. And I'm walking onto the plane, and there's this tall guy standing in the aisle, and I go, Mike Hammer. He goes,
You put your
Wow.
you put your arm on the back of my shoulder, like your left arm on my right shoulder, and I'm like, huh? And then I'm like, it seemed like that was I know that, Pa.
Yeah.
and then we got off the plane and we did something I've never done before. As he goes, Joe, let's go over here. Here's this place. Hammer knows it very well. For he goes there often. And he goes, let's go get a shot. And so that was great.
Hold on.
So
checks out. Yep.
So no, that was great. So it was a weird sort of happenstance, and I'm now hopefully I'll have some time I can do some of the more of that kind of traveling going forward, because I like to go see the Wolves somewhere each year. Yeah. I did Memphis 2 years ago, or not this year, but last year, and then Denver 2 years ago. So we'll see.
Maybe next year when they play in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah, that could be great. I would love to go.
That'd be a good road trip.
Yeah, that'd be a good road trip too as well.
So there must be something about Hammers in Denver, because about 20 years ago, I go out to see the Vikings Broncos, and I'm sitting in a bar in downtown Denver the night before, and all of a sudden I look over and there's Mike's little brother Marty.
Yeah,
he just happened to be going to the game with a bunch of his buddies, and this is where they were going to pregame.
Oh, that's
small
correct.
World.
It is. It is. At the beginning, you kind of asked me about Benilde and what my experience is. Being a fan of the Park Bench podcast, I know that, Carlos, you talk about the world of St. Louis Park up until your high school years.
Yeah.
And even in my junior high years, right? We didn't really have much outside of that bubble of St. Louis Park, right? So
great town.
Yeah.
Great town. The best.
And I was glad that I grew up there. And for me, the biggest education I got from Benilde was not so much the schoolwork, because I was a middling student at best at this particular point in time, but I had friends who lived in Minneapolis, Minnetonka, all over the metro area, which opened my eye to all different types of before I had got out for college and sort of this. So it was just I still remember, because we had a nice house, but it was an older house. And the first time I remember going to this house in Minnetonka, I said, wow, they got a fan in their bathroom. We didn't have a fan in our bathroom way back then. But it was just eye-opening that as
being 9 or 10 and going and playing kind of like neighborhood baseball and going into one of your Benilde classmates, Adam Graziano's house.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling central air for the first time and going, okay, now this is living. I think it was like 2 or 3 years later, we got central air at our house, but it's like going, the first time you experience it, I'm like, damn, that's nice.
But but on occasion, Benilde would play St. Louis Park in sports in terms of basketball, which was my thing. So here's my most embarrassing story about that. Sophomore year, we are going to go and we play St. Louis Park, a sophomore B squad game. Hammer's on that squad.
Oh, wow.
And I am just hyped to the nines for this game, right? So we start the game. We go up 10-2. They call timeout. I'm like, man, we got these boys. We lost 62-25 or something like that. And it was so bad at halftime. Our coach, who's a fiery character, took us into the locker room, and we didn't have a chalkboard. But so he went on the side of one of those lockers and just started writing things like, you people are an embarrassment on the side of that. And excuse me, but I got pulled out of the game early, and I said I did not show very well on my return to St. Louis Park.
Oh, it's been a pleasure having you here on the bench, Joe.
Yeah, that was that.
Great memories.
The funny things about we've talked about why we talk about park bench perspectives. It was a great time, but every time I read parts at my birthday party, Joe brought me 2 books.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Stingray Afternoons and Nights in White
Castle.
And we've talked about Carlos a little bit. I can't even think of his name now. Steve Rushin.
Steve Rushin, yeah.
Yeah, about Bloomington.
And he grew up in Bloomington, and it's just a picture of our youth in this book, just not in Bloomington, but in St. Louis Park. Yeah. And every time I read it, I'm thinking about this podcast, talking about the things, just a different characters and a different geographic by 12 miles, 15 miles.
I was going to wrap this up, but I have a question for you guys. For you, what movie or TV show best exemplified what your youth high school experience was.
Puta.
I can tell you mine while you're thinking. To me,
Okay.
Tell us yours, Carlos.
the closest was Dazed and Confused. You take out that sorority, fraternity, stupidity, that party at the Moon Tower, that was my high school experience. It's like, where's the keg this weekend? Party, try to talk to girls. That was my high school experience. And once again, if you forget that fraternity stuff, the stuff at the party, that very much felt authentic to me.
This is kind of going to be weird in a sense because I got roped into watching one show by my daughter during COVID, and the other show, it originated supposedly in a state real close to us. And the one show was about and it was kind of named That 70s Show.
Okay, yeah, that basement scene was pretty accurate.
I would say there wasn't a lot of athletes in that show, but a lot of the things just seemed to hit home, and the basement and certain things like that. And then my daughter got me into watching One Tree Hill.
Okay.
But I remember the sports parts of that, the competitive sports, and who you're showing up for yourself. And
throw one more out there just for the work aspect, but I thought Fast Times at Ridgemont High did a good job of the hierarchy of where you work. If you worked in the mall, it was better than if you worked in a greasy kitchen. And so there was just different rankings. The rest of the stuff in that movie didn't relate to, but I thought that part was accurate.
I guess for me, it's on the nostalgia end, though we were 2 years older than the kids, and obviously we didn't have the same experiences they did, would be Stranger Things, right?
Sure.
That was
that hit the 80s nostalgia button a million different times, right?
So
have either of you watched that Burroughs show? It's made by the Duffer Brothers. It's Netflix. It's called The Burroughs, and it's supposed to be Stranger Kids with adults.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check it out, but no. But thanks, gentlemen, for inviting me on the bench, and I'm impressed with your podcast. And I wish you all the best. And
before we leave, if Joe and I have another podcast called Forgotten Television, and so
maybe I'll be a guest on that.
We're talking about the White Shadow, and we might even have Mike Hammer as a guest star because he was known to us as the White Shadow.
Or we could talk about the old Mike Hammer TV show.
There you go. That would be a special episode.
The detective.
I like that. All right, guys. Carlos, Joe, and Hammer out.
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 Watching all